The landslide was just like a gatekeeper between a Russian and two Indonesian webmasters who supplied customers with pictures of child abuse in exchange for $29.95. This is the site that they had to log on to, and you can see here emblazoned right down the middle it says child porn. Click here, exit, enter, and here you've got two options. Click here for child porn, click here for pre-teen porn, and underneath it says Lolita fucking hardcore. Just pre-teen hardcore, nothing else, no bullshit. So having accessed that site, you're not really in any doubt of what you're looking or what you're getting into. You're actually choosing to see these images.
By paying to access the website, each of the 7,000 subscribers in Britain is creating the demand for internet paedophilia and is guilty of the crime of inciting another to distribute indecent images of children. If they have copied the images onto their computer, they are also guilty of making indecent images.
Yeah, Governor, your call sign.
There is an added concern that every name on the landslide list could be an immediate risk to children. The suspects are from all walks of life, including accountants, company directors, teachers, policemen, TV executives, and musicians.
The rock star Pete Townsend has admitted using his credit card to enter an internet site advertising child pornography. But he denied being a paedophile and said he did it purely to see what was there.
Stand back of the car, passenger side.
Because of the scale of Operation OR, the child protection teams of the Metropolitan Police need to call on the help of other units. In preparation for a day of synchronized arrests, the head of the paedophile unit briefs them at Scotland Yard.
On the 6th of August 2001, Thomas Reedy was sentenced to 1,335 years in prison. That's recently been reduced to, I think, 128 years in prison, but strangely enough he won't see the light of day. Janice Reedy was sentenced to 14 years in prison, and Landslide Incorporated were fined some $6 million. This is Thomas and Janice Reedy. By the time they were arrested, they were extremely wealthy. What we're actually talking about here is child abuse. And for those of you that haven't ever seen this child abuse, we are talking about the rape of babies. We are talking about bondage of children aged 5 years old. It is all sexual abuse of children. There is nothing pleasant in any of these sites. The people that download this stuff assist in child abuse. And there is a large volume of research that now tends to indicate that people that download and view these images will become abusers. But I would argue still that anybody that downloads this image is already taking part in abuse. If you knock on a door and you get no reply, do not walk away. You have a warrant that gives you a right to enter by force. Please do that, because the vast majority of our suspects are expecting us to knock on their door at some point. They have all seen the paper, they have all seen the media. And they will wait inside their house in the hope that you disappear. You've got a power to use force. Please enter, and please search and seize.
Police! Police, officer. Police! Police! Police, officer! Police, officer! Police!
Put the light on, please.
Nationally, we have a suicide rate of between 5 and 7% for people arrested for offences involving child abuse or indecent images. We've had as many people kill themselves as we have identified those that abuse children. When you go through the door and show people that you're executing a warrant under the Protection of Children Act 1978, you have just blown the biggest hole in somebody's life that could possibly ever happen.
Police!
Until now, They thought that they were safe in their environment, downloading child abuse images on a computer. They thought that it was acceptable for them to download indecent images on their computer. And you've suddenly gone in and told them, actually, it's not, you're a paedophile.
Open the door now! Stop it! Stop it! Please!
We ruin their lives. If we find images, they get convictions, they go on a sex offenders register. If these people have families, some of them won't by the time you leave that premises. Some of them will not have a job by the time you've completed and charged and convicted them. And for a lot of these people, the stress is far too much. So please bear that in mind. When you deal with them with respect.
Good morning, it's no problem, nothing to worry about. It's Gary Clement here.
Yeah?
I'm a police officer. I'd like to come in and speak to him.
Okay.
Please, thank you very much.
Always nervous before something like this. Because it's a big thing, interrupting people's personal lives. You know, we want to get things right. We want to ensure that we research everything as much as we can before we do something like this, and that we try to ensure that we count for their safety and, you know, the safety of the people that were going on the search. At the end of the day, it's nothing personal. It's a job that has to be done.
Morning. Police from the Serious Crime Group, Scotland Yard. Can we just come and have a chat with you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you've got to appreciate it. It does come as a big shock to these people. Someone knocking on the door early in the morning. And they don't come from the sort of households where that's common. Common, where it's completely unknown, really.
So I've nothing to worry about, it's the police. We've got ID here. Good morning,
Hello.
sorry to disturb you.
Good morning, I'm Detective Sergeant Atwood from the Serious Crime Group.
Yeah.
I'm looking for...
Yeah.
Is that you?
Yeah.
May I come in, please?
Extra 158, good morning. You're calling the qualification, please, YouTuber.
If you can let us know as soon as possible the occupation of your subject and whether there's any children and ages on the premises.
2 computers.
No children.
It's a bit of a squeeze, but if he gets in the back there, Trevor.
And you think that site was making £1 million a week? And people from every walk of life, and everybody we're dealing with at the moment, they're all middle class. People you would meet and think, what a lovely person, what an interesting person. Could be your neighbour, could be anybody. I can't believe there's so many of them. Just ordinary people. There's nothing sleazy about them. There's nothing, you know, like ordinary people. You just can't tell. It's a really scary thing. And if there's that much interest in it, how can you ever deal with it? At least people have realised it's not all men are dirty Macs.
Your occupation?
What, teacher?
Teacher. You're unemployed at the moment, are you?
I would be moving. He was employed as a teacher yesterday, but what he's saying is obviously as a result of what's happened this morning, he'll be suspended.
This morning at 6:20, we attended the address to execute a search warrant, which was granted under Section 4 of the Protection of Children Act, 1978. The door was answered and we were invited in, and he was arrested for incitement to distribute child pornography.
It's part of the inquiry into information passed to the UK and authorities in the USA concerning persons who are said to have accessed sites containing indecent images of children.
Understand the reasons why you've been arrested.
Yeah, I understand what the charge is, yeah.
I haven't been charged with anything. You've been arrested.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
The shoes? The shoes?
Taking an account of been used.
Not at all, no.
Yeah.
Today's action is the single largest operation mounted in a child protection capacity so far by the Metropolitan Police. And it has resulted today, so far, in the arrest of 34 men from across the capital. In addition, some 28 children at risk now of being abused, have been identified. And appropriate steps have been taken with partner agencies to ensure that all those children are now safe from harm. Can I just before we go on, can I just give you an example perhaps of the complexity of some of the individual investigations? One job in the Met, not today but last week, under Operation OR, 12 computers seized, 2,530 CD-ROMs seized, 518 floppy disks, 55 videos, 99 films. That's one individual. So that perhaps gives you a feeling for the scale of this.
Each arrest generates more work for the police. Many of the suspects have more than one computer, and every computer, CD-ROM, floppy disk and video must be forensically analyzed. Suspects are usually released on bail, so the analysis of their computers is prioritized based on their access to children. Gary Clement is a primary school teacher.
If you need anything, just press the buzzer.
An initial search of his computer reveals that he has downloaded thousands of indecent images of children.
I mean, look at that little girl.
We've got 18 files in level 5. This is a movie one of a girl being tied up and whipped and objects inserted into... I would say she's about 7.
7, 8,
Little girl.
You can see where the ropes are going into her leg.
Yeah.
That's in the kitchen, on the kitchen table.
Yeah, there's the cooker, there's the sink. And then you've got a girl that's being gagged. Another one being gagged. Gagged and stuff inserted. That's unusual. Female. And that's the same series, that's part of the level 5 ones. That's unusual, having a female.
I just can't imagine what goes through a person's mind to keep these sort of images, and a person in a position of trust like this man was, who's teaching children of this age, such a large quantity of level 5. I mean, that's a dog.
It's a dog.
Yeah, that's horrifying.
And there is one which I noticed on one of the floppy disks that you actually see the nappy being removed on, again, little babies.
Well, I mean, what age does the baby wear a nappy up to? What, 18 months?
Yeah,
probably.
2.
Within a few months of the start of Operation OR, there is a huge collection of computers waiting to be analyzed by forensic specialists. As the police wait for the results from the computer lab, they are continually arresting more suspects and the work piles up. While trying to keep pace with Operation OR, the Child Protection Major Investigation Team receives intelligence that a group of men may be setting up a website to sell internet paedophilia from a base in London.
I'll give you a very brief overview of what we're going to do today. It's an intelligence-led operation concerning 3 main targets. The information that we've had so far is that the 2 targets in London, with the 3rd target, are engaged in the distribution of child pornography on the internet. The information that we have is that they travel abroad, they make films themselves of children being sexually abused. The films are then transported back to the United Kingdom. When they're back in the United Kingdom, they get placed onto a pay-per-view website
The suspects have been under investigation for weeks, and the police would have wanted more time for research. But they discover that one of the men has a child living in his house, and they are forced to act immediately. One suspect is believed to have weapons in his house. Good effort. One of the targets, Gerald Crompton, is not at home. Travel documents found in his house suggest he is in Thailand. At first, the search looks promising. Crompton has converted his garage into a state-of-the-art home cinema.
Teeny Extremes, 183, £5 adult. Teeny Lucen Master. Japan Danish singles number 3, Japanese Danish.
Age 9.
See what I'm saying? Yeah. All you got to do is so that you've got that iconic bit.
Age 12.
This is the very expensive digital video camera. It looks like it's been using that to connected that to here, to the computer, to add sound and edit things and play around with it. And then connected to the Super VHS player downstairs to record it onto videotapes. That seems to be what's been going on. It's a program that's got a section on it that will destroy evidence on a computer, called a shredder. And it's obviously a very new purchase. The envelope. Oh, it's too big. No. Too close.
That Crompton is involved in the commercial production of internet paedophilia. They now have to wait to see what he has on his computer. No evidence is found at the homes of the other suspects, but one of them has over 1 million pornographic images on his computer. He claims that his business is adult pornography. Forensic analysts estimate that it will take more than a year to check every image for paedophilia. Gary Clement is the primary school teacher arrested as part of Operation OAR. As well as paying to view the Landslide website, he has downloaded over 13,000 images of children being sexually abused.
Taking you back to when you first discovered that you were suffering from stress and depression, explain to me how this has come about. Is it just to do with the schooling, as you said?
It was all factors, really. I mean, the problem I have is I tend to store emotions and hide things, basically build up walls. And I've stored so much for such a long time I couldn't hold it in any longer.
Right. And in your first interview you said that when you do get depressed, you view child images.
It's very, very hard to explain. Because most of my problems were with school, I was tending to I became to dislike the children, which I didn't before.
You came to
dislike the children.
dislike them?
Yeah. And so the emotion I was feeling was a lot of anger. So what I do is when I came back from school, I spend an hour just getting out of my system, as I mentioned before, you know.
Were indecent images of children?
Yes. When I felt the worst, the images were the worst.
What do you mean by the worst?
The harder the image, the younger the child, the worse the scene that was going on.
Right, Mr. Clements. The first charge is on or before the 17th of December 2002, within the jurisdiction of the Central Criminal Court, you made 2,787 indecent images of children contained on floppy disks, and that's contrary to Section 1(1)A of the Protection of Children Act 1978. Number 2, on or before the 17th of December 2002, within the jurisdiction of the Central Criminal Court, you made 3,432 indecent images of children under 16 years, held on floppy disk, namely Exhibit JJG/7. That's also contrary to Section 1(1)A, Protection of Children Act 1978. I've just got to caution you again, and that is you do not have to say anything, but it may harm your defence if you do not mention now something which you later rely on in court. Anything you do say may be given in evidence. 1513? No reply. I believe the officers want to make representation on whether to withhold bail in this matter.
Mr. Clement has now been charged with making indecent images of children. The charge is concerned over 13,000 images retrieved from floppy disks and CDs. Up until now, Clement returned to the police station today, and Clement was unaware of the charges he was now faced. And now there is a strong likelihood that he will receive a long custodial sentence as outlined in R.V. Oliver and Copine guidelines. Clement has also been identified as being a collector of a vast amount of indecent pornographic material, and due to his insatiable appetite he will commit further offences whilst on bail. Due to the high level of offenders self-harming or becoming victims of vigilantes, it is felt that he should be kept in custody for his own protection and welfare. And also during an interview he has admitted that he contemplated committing suicide, and also has admitted on tape that he's committed a further offence of viewing indecent images whilst on bail. There are my objections to bail, Sarge.
So do you wish to make any representations?
I don't intend to give up. I was going to commit suicide or whatever. I intend to get over this and get on with my life. You know, I've been asked to come back 3 times. Each time I've come back as required. I don't know what is going to happen to me. You know, I will come back for the court case. I will stand up and I will face whatever is given to me, and I will get on with my life. I mean, it's my intention to get back on with my life.
Unfortunately, I believe you would commit further offences, and for your own welfare, I'm afraid I'm refusing bail, and we'll take you to court tomorrow, and then the magistrates can decide. Okay, sir. If you'd like to go with the officers, thank you.
Yeah, I'm just going to
Clement is released on bail by a magistrate. At the Crown Court, he pleads guilty to making indecent images of children. Because of the number and severity of the images, he is sentenced to 2 years imprisonment with an extra 3 years extended license. He is placed on the sex offenders register for 10 years and is banned from working with children for life.
The lead story in nearly all the tabloids is the denial by the rock singer Pete Townsend that he's a paedophile. He admits that he downloaded child pornography from the internet, but says it was for research purposes. "I'm not another glitter" is the headline in the News of the
strongly
World.
denied that he is a paedophile who uses child pornography from the internet. There have been newspaper suggestions that police have been investigating a rock star who
Use his credit card simply to see what was on one of these sites, and as research for a book he's doing about what he says are his own experiences of having been abused as a child.
I rather fear that tomorrow morning's front page is still going to be dominated by the story that dominates today's papers, which is Pete Townsend, who the Daily Mail said yesterday is allegedly to be questioned by Scotland Yard for having visited a paedophile site.
Only a handful of senior officers knew that Townsend was on the list. he was not considered to be a high priority target, but their hand has been forced by the revelations in the media. A team of Operation Ore detectives is called to an early morning briefing.
Ladies and gents, good morning. Those of you who have been following the media over the weekend know why we're here, and the Sun have told us what we've got to do today. I want to use this to tell you exactly what's going on. The original list that came out from NSIS to the Met had about 960 names on it. I made the decision that we wouldn't treat Pete Townsend differently to any other person on that list. He would fall into the lower category of risk to children. His kids are grown up. I think he's got a 12-year-old that lives with the mother. And the very prominence of his position doesn't give him sort of a particular access to kids, because he's always going to have a great entourage of people around. We worked through the targets as they were researched, and as you know, we had a big raid day on the Tuesday before the Christmas week, and we cleared our backlog of people waiting arrests. On the Thursday of that week, so 2 days after, our press officer contacts me and says, I've had a phone call from Ben Taylor on the Daily Mail that says he's been told that we arrested Pete Townsend on Tuesday. Have you? Now, our press office did not know anything about Pete Townsend being on the list. Very few people knew, as I said. I was absolutely flabbergasted. My response to the press officer was, you can tell the Daily Mail they've got it wrong. He hasn't been arrested. There are a number of names floating around, and his isn't the only one. Those of you that have been reading the media this weekend, it talks about 2 Labour politicians. And I can tell you, I'm not aware of any Labour politicians. I know the names that they're talking about, and they're not on the list. Friday evening, 11 o'clock, my mobile goes, hello, it's Bernie from the press office. You don't know me, but... and Bernie, please feel free to jump in if I get any of this wrong. Bernie had been contacted by The Sun to say that the Daily Mail's front page for Saturday was going to be rock star bombshell, police to quiz British multimillionaire musician over internet child porn. I read it and thought, okay, you know, someone's keeping them informed of what we're doing. And I thought we'll survive that until about 10 o'clock when Bernie phones me to say, I don't know which paper it was, but a newspaper was going to phone Pete Townsend direct to ask him to comment. News of the World. And when she said, well, who else knows about this? I'm told about 50 journalists who had already gone to his house. And I actually sent Mick Connor down to go and have a look. And Mick will say, you know, there were ladders pushed up against his wall. He was completely confronted by it. So what you read in the papers today about how he decided to sort of volunteer that it was probably him, I actually think you'll find is slightly inaccurate. You know, the tabloid media forced his hand. He had no option. By the evening, I was actually much more chirpy, because once I was listening to the conversations that Peter was having with the media and the admissions he was making, I was realising how much it was going to give you as the sort of interview and investigating team to talk to him about. He's talking about seeking permission 3 months ago when he accessed the websites. Now, we all know that the Operation Ore material is from 98, 99. I don't know the exact date of when he bought his access. 15th of May 99? Yeah. Well, the reality is he's admitting to offences now. We've got evidence for offences in 99. The reality is, you know, he's making admissions to things that we haven't even asked him about yet. My guess is he's probably being advised by a PR consultant as opposed to a lawyer, and his lawyer is going to be having some serious concerns before he meets you today.
Debbie's just called from outside the premises. There are approximately 12 media personnel camped outside with sorted cameras. She's made a few discreet inquiries, and apparently they haven't seen him since Saturday evening. They don't think he's in the premises. There's some suggestion he's gone off with Mick Jagger came and called for him and said coming out to play, and they've gone off somewhere. There's a suggestion there's a garage at the back of the address that leads out to another road. I think you might have got out the back way.
That's the cottage.
Right.
Well, that garage down there.
So there's a possibility he's not at the address. Didn't look like this yesterday morning. Well, the football's off again, he thinks the frozen pitches.
Yeah.
We haven't played for 6
Go
weeks.
Tottenham in the afternoon then?
No, I watched it on telly, I watched the pay-per-view.
But it was a good game to watch.
It was actually, yeah. From a coaching point of view, for managers it was a nightmare. But for action and crowd enjoyment, it was very good. You don't get many 4-3s anymore in Premiership, no. Yeah, that's all good.
Hello, Brian Cole speaking. Hello, Mr. Lux. Thank you for phoning me. Are there any problems at all that you perceive at this stage? So you, Mr. Townsend and you are going to be at the house at 3 p.m. as agreed. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, look forward to seeing you. Bye now.
Yeah?
Yeah, that's fine.
It was mid-afternoon Pete Townsend arrived at his London home. Sitting in the back of the car on the left, he was surrounded by his legal team. The man whose music talked about a new generation has denied he's a paedophile. He says he did look at a child porn website, but only for research into a book he's writing.
Yes.
How are you?
Oh, sorry, I didn't see the sun tonight.
The search of Townsend's house will require a large team of detectives. So they can arrive together, they rendezvous first in Richmond Park.
This is the car park here.
This is the car park here.
Well, you're welcome. Yeah. My name is John Cohen, and I'm Pete Townsend solicitor. I just want to tell you that we are meeting the police at the house here at 3 o'clock by appointment, by arrangement with the police. So you will shortly see some police cars arrive, I imagine. That's what it's about.
What will happen then?
Don't know. Up to the police.
If he starts going into one about being abused in the past, who's going to deal with that?
If he wants to talk about abuse he's experienced as a child, of course we'll do it, but it's a separate thing on another day. And we'll appoint an FLO to him if that's the case.
What an idea to introduce him to someone today at the end.
Yeah.
Just to say, well,
family liaison officer.
this is your...
If you want to talk about abuse you've experienced in the past.
Is family liaison appropriate?
I think it's important. When it's someone needs to talk to, whoever's investigating it's someone different. So it's got somebody you can trust and talk to.
Did the police approach you, or did you approach the police?
We approached the police.
And what did you say to them?
That we should meet. That he wants to.
But Pete Townsend denies the allegations that he was a paedophile or he's gone onto this internet site.
Oh God, has he said that? Okay. The solicitor has made an announcement that they're expecting the imminent arrival of Scotland Yard detectives.
What, to the waiting press?
Yes, to the waiting press.
Oh, what a delightful man.
Huh?
Why did he go onto the internet site?
What emergency?
Yeah. Let's go.
Apparently he's just put out a press conference, the solicitor at the door, saying that he's invited Scotland Yard to attend at 3 o'clock today.
No.
Yeah. How to put spin on things.
That's the press, I'll tell you that now.
It's the press, yeah.
Straight on down. Right. If you could just go slowly, yeah?
Yeah.
This is the cottage on the right-hand side here. Okay? This is the press here. They're waiting for us. This is his large house up on the right-hand side here. Large conservatory outside. See?
Yeah.
There we go. Gentleman of the press. Let's go.
Excuse me, please.
Way here, sir. What's the respect, guys? Can you move back a bit? What station are you from, gentlemen? Can you tell us why you're here?
Hello? It's DS Coles. Thank you.
Do you know if and where the press officer is for this? Because at the address, we've got hundreds of press around it. Then they're obviously asking to speak to a press officer. Right, just to let you know, there's a press officer on the way now to give you some kind of statement. Can you let us through? Can you make some room? Excuse me. Okay. Mr. Townsend's been arrested and a search is about to be conducted. And there's quite a number of officers in there, but it's a big house and we're going to be split into teams. It's a lot of quite expensive musical equipment, especially computer equipment. This will probably be left behind. We've got our own technical experts with us who'll be able to decide what needs to be taken and what can be left behind. There are 3 solicitors in there with him, all from the same firm, all being very cooperative, and other than the press scrum around the front of the premises, no real problems so far.
Hello, I'm Bernie from the press office. Hello, it's just to say... Okay, thanks for the photo there. Just to say, we're not doing any statements or what have you. I will give you an update as soon as I possibly can. Okay. I'm not doing it. This is off camera. Is that all right?
Will the statement be on camera?
No. I'm just handing out a pre-prepared statement thereafter. Okay. Once I've got a better idea, I will let you know. Just for guidance, what would happen? Obviously, there's quite a lot of media. We went in just to introduce ourselves, explain the process. That's fairly normal.
Yeah.
And then the other officers go in to conduct the search of the area, the premises rather.
Okay.
So
they won't formally...
No. That's fairly normal.
They'll present a warrant and formally do that, will they? Or
yes.
They'll hand him a search warrant?
Yes.
And when was that obtained?
Today.
Bernie, do you have specialist IT officers who can search computers,
yes.
etc.? How many do you have?
Yes. Yeah. Again, I'm not going to that at this stage.
But the computer will be searched.
How long have you been here?
Dave. Half 7.
Dave, you poor Dave.
The information that came from the Americans gives us a key to a door. It allows us to have a look in and see, are these people child abusers? That's our business. That's what we're after. We're not after porn surfers. The problem is you don't know till you look. We don't know if we're going to find holiday snaps of a person that we're with young children in inappropriate circumstances. The US Postal Inspection Service data gives us the ability to go into these people's houses that we haven't had before. It's indicative behaviour, if you like, but the reality is none of us are saying that he's a paedophile, none of us are saying he's a child abuser. It's far too early to say that, but what people mustn't lose sight of, and this story has done this subject a lot to actually bring it to the public attention. Children have to be raped and buggered to make these images, and it's a bit like drugs. Whilst there is a demand, there is always someone prepared to supply, And if people are prepared to spend money to pay for this sort of material, then the reality is children have got to be abused to provide it.
Police are this evening searching the home of the rock guitarist Pete Townsend after he admitted looking at child pornography on the internet. His name was on a list passed to British police by the FBI.
Well, of the 7,000 or so people brought to the attention of the operation or inquiry, Pete Townsend is clearly the most high profile. And despite him saying he's done nothing wrong, he'll now be the subject of a lengthy police investigation.
The police plan to interview Townsend at Twickenham police station.
Now, the likelihood is we will bail him. Now, what he does with his lawyers after us is a matter for him.
The thing for me is about managing the situation when he comes here. The front office, we still require people to come into the building. It's a very, very small building,
right.
In terms of public access. So clearly I'm going to have to think about where they can go. I don't want them standing in the front office, or anywhere near the front office environment. If they want to stand outside, and allow members of the public to come in normal course of business, then I'm happy with that.
The thing is, as I understand it, he is going to come out the front door.
He has to come out the front door of the house with us, get into our car.
They've had the opportunity there.
So they may well follow.
Shot. Exactly. But at least they've had it there, so they won't be as desperate to get a shot. And I think the imperative one will be when he actually comes out of
here, which we'll have to manage
because they'll be looking for him to make some sort of comment about what has happened.
My thoughts are really that we need to do this as quickly without too much disruption to the normal business of the building.
And we have to consider his welfare. I mean, he has been treated differently to other people we've arrested because of the media, and I think we have to balance that.
We wait and see what happens when he is here.
Well, I will know when
we can risk assess that.
Can we drop back and let it in?
He's coming right back in there.
Can you all move back, please? Can you all make room for the car, please?
The police are trying to treat Townsend like any other suspect, but few are subjected to such intense public scrutiny. In an attempt to avoid a media rush on Townsend when he is brought out, the detectives park a car at his front door. It is a decoy. They plan to leave from his garage at the back, where only a few photographers are waiting.
Got it. That's it, isn't it?
Bingo.
Fuck. You got it?
Yeah.
Clear.
Yeah, very. Dan, back of the car, passenger side.
Go. Oh, you got it. Well done. Superb.
Back of the car, passenger. Got him well anyway. All right, mate. Bye.
Well done. That's where we're going, is it?
Yeah.
What's he wearing?
Just the same as before.
In the BMW?
Yeah. Back of the car, passenger side.
Yeah, he's gone, yeah.
He definitely gone.
Yeah.
Do you know where he's gone?
It's a silver Toyota Corolla, yeah. He should be there any second.
He's gone. He's gone. I don't know where he's going. I just know he's left. No, sorry, I was just talking actually.
He's wearing a black bomber jacket.
Excuse me.
Silver Corolla. On
3 o'clock, going to Twickenham.
Yeah, he's in the back.
But he said he's wearing a bomber jacket and what?
That's what I couldn't see anything below. But we only think Twickenham.
It's obviously a story that he knew was going to be big, and he knew that his credit card details had been accepted onto this website. He knew he'd been tracked down, and obviously this is part of a much bigger operation going on here in the UK. As Di mentioned there, Operation All, some 1,300 people in the UK already been arrested, charged via this big sting that's going on in the UK here.
He also admitted that on one occasion he did pay with his credit card to view some child pornography on the internet, but again he claimed he hadn't downloaded anything, and he claimed also that this was to do with research for a book he was writing.
A few minutes later, he pulled into Twickenham police station, a short distance from his home, to face further questions. The police tonight took away several items from Pete Townsend's house, including videotapes and computer consoles. Some of the detectives involved are forensic computer officers. They'll spend the next phase of the inquiry delving into every minute detail of Pete Townsend's computer world.
Mr. Pete Townsend is solicitor here. At 3:03 p.m. I went to Mr. Townsend's home address in possession of a search warrant in connection with child pornography. At 3:03 p.m. I arrested him for suspicion of possession of child pornography and also inciting another to distribute child pornography.
Okay, do you understand we've been brought here with moment, right? Okay. So possession, inciting others to do so, is it?
Inciting another to distribute child pornography and also suspected possession of child pornography.
3:03 time arrest, wasn't he saying?
3:03, yeah, that's correct.
Place of arrest?
It's a home address.
Four names, is it Peter or? Four names, please. Peter?
Dennis. Land.
Your date of birth is, please?
19th of May, 1945.
Do you know how tall you are?
Just under 6 foot.
And your place of birth, please?
Isleworth.
Coles, C-O-L-E-S?
C-O-L-E-S, yes, it's Brian, B-R-I-A-N, Cole.
D-S?
Yeah, D-S.
And?
MIT West.
MIT West is like a station, is it?
It's a 5.
You lost in the case as well?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Townsend, whilst you're at the police station you have certain rights. The first of those is to speak to an independent solicitor. Free of charge, you have one present, okay? The second is to have someone told you you've been arrested. You can also consult the Codes of Practice, which is a book of ours that covers our powers and procedures, okay? Do you want anyone informed that you've been arrested?
Yes.
You do. Who do you want to inform?
Sorry, do I want to...
Anyone
sorry, I
informed?
thought you asked me if I'd been informed.
No, do you want anyone informed? And do you want to consult the Codes of Practice of ours that covers our powers and procedures? No. Okay. Here's a copy of your rights and entitlements. I need you to sign as such that you receive those, please. Your two signatures, one there to say that I've given you your rights and I've given you a copy of them. That's just up here. And on the next line there to say that you want to speak to a solicitor as you have one present. Thank you. Okay, there's a form now I've got to read over to everybody that comes in the police station. They might sound personal, the questions, but it's to try and help people out, those people that need help or are at risk, okay? Are you suffering from an illness, injury or medical or mental health condition?
No.
Okay, you on medication for anything at the moment?
No.
You ever tried to harm yourself in the past?
No.
Let's help we give to people with reading problems. You okay with your reading?
Reading.
Let's help we get reading problems. You okay
No,
with your
reading, I'm fine, yeah. Hearing is a bit dodgy.
Tell me about it. Let's help we get to people with learning difficulties who went to a special school who suffer from mental health problems. Do you need that help at all? Do you need help for any other reason?
Not that I can think of.
Obviously, if you can think of anything that comes to light, just let me know, okay? There's also a drug referral scheme operates at this police station. If you're interested, I can arrange for you to be seen by an independent drugs worker in due course. Are you interested in that at all?
No, thank you.
Sweet, but either. 2 more signatures, please, just in there to say that I've read you those questions out. And over leaf to say that you don't want to see a drugs worker. Can you phone up Dr. Oliver and just see? She's ready to attend, thank you.
I've got some property here, Sarge.
Yeah, we'll just start looking at it now. Shall I search it? Yeah, but you're obviously going to search you, so I'll the police station. We've got to take things from you that might harm yourself or any of us, okay? Or might aid your escape. You understand that? Yes. Okay, super. Okay, search. You should take custody office. Can I help you? Uh-huh. Here, if you just bear with us 1 second. Someone from Reuters. No. You want to speak to us? No. I just want to confirm.
Take possession of 4 exhibits from Mr. Townsend's business premises. 31 pages of paper contained in a file marked Internet Child Abuse.
Okay, that's that one complete now, is it?
Yeah. And there's 3 separate bank statements. February 2002, July 2002. Last one.
Seal number?
C497 6252. Barclay card statement. August 2002. That's it from that address.
Right, is there anything else we've got to book in as well on the custody?
Yeah, there's a lot of other stuff en route.
Okay.
How serious are the charges he could face?
Potentially very serious. Just possession of indecent images of children could give him 5 years in jail. It all depends on the number of offences and the scope of those offences. Now, Pete Townsend himself, of course, has said that he only went into one internet site once, and that was only for research purposes. But there have been all manner of groups, including children's charities, lining up today to say that there's simply no defence for this, and that just looking is illegal.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay, you'll come and get me into here once you've done that.
Sorry. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, he would like a cup of tea.
He's been a good tea maker as well.
We can't guarantee if it's good though.
On a champion proof. Yes. There's going to be no allocation of charges. Historical from him. There's going to be no allegation. So there's going to be some therapy 50 years ago. He's all we want to know. So far,
all we can do, Ronnie, is give him the option, give him a contact. If he, at a later date he wants to talk about what's happened to him as a child, we can pick it up from there as a support for him. There's obviously issues there that have been unresolved.
The offer's been made, so they're quite aware of it.
We'll make it again before he goes. Let him know who he can contact if he wants to talk about it.
Among the property seized from Townsend's home are 12 computers, various diaries and notes, and a copy of the statement he made to the press when the story broke. It is not until his computers have been examined that the police will know if there is any further evidence against him. But he has publicly admitted that he paid to view the landslide website, which in itself is a crime of incitement. The police are now ready to formally interview him.
You've been arrested on suspected possession of child pornography and inciting another to distribute child pornography, you understand?
Yeah.
Have you got anything to say about that at this stage?
I did subscribe to that website on that day. I felt that using my real name, that I would be able to enter and research and see what was going on the website. That's what happened, and I greatly regret inciting others to do so. I was planning to campaign, I was in the middle of a campaign to try to shut down the user groups and to start a lobby, a voice to shut down the user groups, and I wanted to know whether what was going to happen is that I was going to come up against a lot of apologists who said to me that this is not really going on. What's really going on is just money changing hands, and I wanted to see the reality of it, because what was being supplied free on advertising banners was so horrific.
Alberto, did it contain child pornography?
I can't remember. I just remember it may have had images on it of children. They may have been in a state of undress. I can't really recall. I certainly don't remember. They had not been burned into my subconscious and my memory in the way that the first images that I stumbled upon on the listings, which were free. Those I remember very well. And those were the ones which really burned me up, because it was maybe less than 7 keystrokes in Google that got me to that place where there was a list in front of me, and I thought my son, who's a young boy, could so easily stumble upon this. And I wanted to see what was going on in the real world in there, and I understand that it was stupid.
Can you recall those images now? You say they burnt you up. What do you mean by that?
I remember the one image in particular, which was of a young baby boy being sexually sodomized by an adult, a boy. And I think that's about the worst thing that I've seen. And I was very disturbed by it and very angered by it.
Do you appreciate that the actions that you did entering that site and viewing the material was wrong?
Absolutely.
Okay. And that by subscribing to Landslide, that $5, you caused them to distribute the images on that site?
I'd have to say, if there's any, that I do accept that. I apologise for what the trouble that I've caused everybody in this investigation. I know it's complicated, and I feel terrible about it. I was trying to do something useful, and I was foolish and stupid and ignorant, and arrogant perhaps is the right word. I shouldn't have done it. I shouldn't have done it alone anyway.
Ready? Yeah, I tell you what the score is that Pete, who is it that's going on? Paul is having a guy that will come here in about 10 minutes time. We'd like him to come into the back yard if possible, so that Pete can be whizzed away.
I wouldn't be surprised if they try and get out the back or something. Sean's covering the back. Well, I've got a funny feeling we're going to get a bit of the stuff in here. We're going to get the stuff back and we'll double whammy. I don't know what's going to happen.
Thanks very much. Thanks very much for the tea and sympathy.
Not a problem.
How'd
you get me in there?
Thank you so much for being so solid and kind.
Sorry? He's getting the yard? Yeah. I'll just arrange. No, I'll come back as well. I will find my key.
too long. Put it on. Heavy now. That'll be not bad.
That could have been him.
That could have been him, Nigel.
Just wondered by accident.
Is that him?
Could have been with the briefcase. Is that what you thought?
Isn't that him? So I'll go around the front and do my bit, you know? Get to rest.
He has been answering some questions from the police tonight. That's now finished. He has been bailed. They may want him to come back for more questions, and if so, that will be in some weeks' time. He's not been charged with anything, and he's gone home to get some rest. All right. Thank you very much.
More kind. Thank you very much for your patience.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
In the phone.
Can
you keep back from the car? Let the car come out, please, sir.
He's in the boot.
He was crouched down in the back.
No, he's in the boot. He wasn't in the back.
No, he's not in the back seat of this. There's the back seat.
I know, I've got two back seats.
He's not in the back seat of any car, did it now?
Well, there was a big lump under a leather jacket on the back.
Well, here it is. He's in the back. Where is he? He's not there, is he?
No, that's from the first guy.
You get out one. Good one. You know what that does?
He's in bail till a future date. There's a leather jacket
That's
with
the
someone
second
underneath.
one.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's a bag. That wasn't it.
Well, it covered the whole seat.
No, it didn't. No, there's the front seat, look.
There's a big lump that could have been in it.
Just here with the driver in the same.
Was he lying down?
Yeah.
Well, he's very tight.
Okay. Is that it?
So you're his lawyer then?
I can't see.
Yeah. So you're his lawyer. What how?
But he's on Mercedes-Benz, right? Look.
I'm not in charge.
He was, what were you timing it out? He was interviewed for 1 hour 20 minutes. But what was that to come out at?
Say 10 past 12?
Well, it was 5 past 12. 5 past 12.
Should we say 8 minutes past or something? Okay, 5 past.
Pete Townsend will remain on bail while the police assess the evidence against him. With 12 computers to examine, it could be months before they know the extent of his guilt. The major investigation team for East London has information that Gerald Crompton is flying back from Thailand tonight. He is one of the group of men suspected of making their own website to sell internet paedophilia. So far there is no evidence against the others. Crompton's computer has been analysed. Despite his attempts to delete the contents of his hard drive, forensic analysts have unearthed 400 indecent images of children, including the rape of girls as young as 8. He has also downloaded stories published on the internet which graphically depict the violent abuse, torture and murder of children.
Welcome to Incest Club, featuring Lolita girls fucking with their parents, blowing from father and brother, and anal penetration. Nice. While you can make maybe a case for why someone would go onto a site and look at sexual images of children, the Pete Townsend defence, because you just checking they were there so you could complain about them. Why would you download page after page after page of stories about small children having sex with adults? Why would you do that? The only reason that someone has obtained these is because they're going to masturbate while they read them, and that's what they are. And you don't masturbate while reading stories about children being abused unless that's what you want to do, that's what you fantasize about. So,
is there anything wrong with that though?
It's a great debate. I mean, the debate is always, if there are people who are sexually attracted to children, what is the best way to make sure that they don't actually abuse children? Some people, including most paedophiles, argue that if you give them access to paedophile material, whether in the form of stories or images, then that will satisfy their urges and they won't then go on to abuse children. My opinion, and I think experience shows, that actually it just reinforces those feelings in them, makes it seem more normal, makes it seem more acceptable, and lowers their barriers that they may have against actually abusing children. Because let's face it, when you watch pornography or you read, you know, erotic stories, what you really want to do is have sex, isn't it? The only reason you're doing that is because the real thing's not available to you. So, you know, I don't buy that argument. I think that material like this can only reinforce the problem. But at the end of the day, there is no law that says that obscene stories are illegal. I'm obviously publishing this in a book would be illegal under the Obscene Publications Act, but writing it and emailing it to your friends or putting it on a website in America is not illegal. But what it does tell me, I mean, is Gerald Crompton is a paedophile. I mean, he's not someone that's stumbled across a couple of child porn sites, been disgusted by it and switched his computer off. He is someone who enjoys the idea that children get sexually abused.
Crompton's flight is 6 hours late, and it is after midnight by the time his plane lands. He is the last of over 300 passengers to leave the aircraft, and he is seen to hesitate before going through passport control. The police believe that he may be bringing indecent images of children into the country, stored on small microdrive discs. When they arrest him, they want to take him by surprise, so he cannot dispose of any incriminating evidence. But first, they will tail him, in case he leads them to an accomplice or a secret address.
Let's go first, all right.
Lights to green. Should come out behind you now, through the green ATS.
Because of the delay on Crompton's flight, the airline has laid on accommodation for the passengers at various hotels around Heathrow.
Relay through the barrier under the right. Contact 88.
Simon, very briefly, you say you're going to follow him to the hotel. If it looks like he's going to meet someone, have a drink, we'll let it run. If he clearly is going to book in for the night, we'll get a phone call and then we'll go and arrest him straight away. Okay? Go on.
Right, vehicle to camera down, please.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, clear.
He's not hanging about, this bus driver. I didn't get a road name there, but it runs up the side of the Holiday Inn, just entering Farlington.
Laura, you just saw that, Comfort Inn on the left-hand side. When we pull him behind us, don't do anything unless we do something, okay? And then obviously when we get out, it means we're going to go in, so you get out. Just saves me having to call you, that's all.
Left, into the Comfort Inn. Left, into the Comfort Inn. It's a bit tight in there. Have I got a backup and just go in with it? Hey, mate. There's a male off carrying a rucksack and into the Comfort Inn. Is he in reception? Sorry, that's confirmed. He's in reception.
He's in reception.
Back up. He's in reception, waiting to book in, over.
Right, bye.
He's in the queue waiting to book in. Okay, well I think we'll go and get him.
We'll go and lift him.
Right, yeah. We'll go and get him.
Right.
Police officers! Police officers! Get the arrest! Get on the floor, get on the floor, get on the floor! Get on the floor! Get on the floor! Get hands away! Right, I'm arresting you. Sergeant Holmes, serious crime group. Arresting you for making decent images of children, possession of drugs, and possession of decent images of children. I've got to say, you don't have to say anything unless you wish to do so, but it may harm your defence if you don't mention when questioned something that we should not rely on in court. Anything you do say may be given evidence. Do you understand that?
John Crompton, do you understand that?
Do you understand your needs? You're arrested. Okay.
All right, your arrest is timed at 1:26.
Right, Gerald, we're going to handcuff you now. Okay. Yeah. Is there anything on you that could hurt us or hurt you? Okay.
Right,
Be very, very still. Okay. And this will not hurt at all.
keep your head down. Don't move. Do you understand? Yeah. Do as you're told.
Okay. Yeah, just... That's all right, it's all right.
Okay.
Okay. Do it faster than you,
Yeah.
It's all right.
Okay. Fine.
Okay, all right. Stop. What I'm going to do, Joe, let's pull this arm around. Okay, just be easy.
Take it easy, mate.
Okay.
Don't panic.
How does that feel?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah? Okay, what we're going to do is just get up gently, okay?
Yeah. You understand?
1, 2, 3. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Right now, your luggage is which one's?
Okay.
Into that one there?
No. Who's got?
Right. Okay, you alright? What have you got?
That pin top. Go to the pin.
Okay. What we're going to do, we're going to take you away in a minute, okay? We're going to take us over more discreet. We're going to search you. Alright? Let's take it.
Okay.
Okay, I've got that home.
So, out.
Okay.
We'll do front.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really easy, isn't it? Okay. It's a bit more comfortable for the journey.
Is that medication? What are those tablets doing?
Viagra. Okay. Right. Is it a very busy place, Bangkok?
Oh, terrible.
Really?
Traffic unbelievable.
Yeah, I've never been there myself. So, sounds an interesting sort of place.
Yeah, most people they just go to a hotel all inclusive, don't they? And in the hotels charged like Western prices.
Right.
So you don't really get a cheap holiday. You don't meet any nice people.
Right. Yeah, I must admit, when you go abroad, it's quite nice to go abroad and to sort of like see around the way people live, you know. So what I mean, Jerry, in a minute we'll go in there, and as I say, what will happen is that, listen carefully when I speak to a custody officer who's a sergeant, because I'll be telling him exactly what's happened today, the fact you've been arrested, why you've been arrested, and then they ask you certain questions about your date of birth, address, etc., etc.
So it rested at 1:25, did you say?
1:25 a.m. Yeah.
The male was handcuffed. Do you have a serial number for the handcuffs?
The number is 645258. Sorry, 268, beg your pardon.
268. Okay, and the reasons for the handcuff?
Say, serious weapon offence. We feared that he may attempt to escape.
Lovely, thank you. Okay, we'll authorise your detention here at the police station to ascertain your actions and intentions in relation to the offences that you've been arrested for, and also to secure and preserve evidence in relation to the offences that you've been arrested for, and to obtain further evidence by means of questioning. Okay. Okay, I'll take some personal details from you. What's your surname, please?
Crompton, C-R-O-M-P, Chairman.
And your first name, please?
Gerald Barry.
Gerald
Barry.
I understand the officers obviously initially searched you when you were brought in, when you were arrested. What we authorise is a further search whilst you're here at the police station to ensure that you obviously haven't got anything that might harm any other further evidence on you at all. So,
Sergeant, can I just make an application at that point? Can I make an application for authority to do a strip search on this man based on the reasons for this are
the nature of the offence is, we believe he's concerned in large production of large numbers of these images.
Yes.
They can be transported in items as small as a postage stamp.
Indeed, yes, yes.
Yeah.
On that basis, listen to what the officer said. Unauthorised strip search. It's not an intimate search, but it is a search of obviously your personal closer detail, just to ensure that you haven't got anything further on you which may be relevant to the offence.
Yeah.
What we have here is number 31 on the list. It's entitled New Cosy Kid Cunts, brackets 3. Virgin girls with dad's dick in her cunts. Parents were arrested for it. I'm showing that to you now. You can see that. Yeah. You honestly telling me that there's been any accident in you accessing certain websites like this?
I didn't say it was an accident, but they do come up automatically.
Okay.
I admit that I've been looking at them.
When you've been doing all this, you masturbate? Try to. You're telling me that you've looked at them masturbate but can't come?
Don't even get hard.
But you try to get hard?
Yeah, I mean, doesn't happen. Doesn't turn me on, really, at all.
Why would you try and masturbate over it then, if it doesn't turn you on?
I don't know, it's a phase I went through where I was trying to get off on looking at stuff on websites.
But this is just stuff, isn't it, Gary?
Yeah, I mean, when you show it me now, it's, yeah, it's sick.
How do you feel about it now?
Disgusted with myself.
What I've done is I've put you in this area here. There's no one else here, so you get at least you'll get good light through. And I'll arrange for somebody to, obviously clean your teeth in the due course. Yeah, okay? Alright, so you can try that. Yes, yeah, I'll get that sorted.
Policing internet paedophilia is a huge job. Offenders can have many thousands of indecent images on their computers and often hide them behind passwords. They may also have deleted the images in the hope that they will evade detection. These can be retrieved, but it can take hundreds of man-hours. Detectives working on Operation OR now have to wait months before getting the results back from the computer forensic lab. When this suspect was arrested, he denied that he had viewed images of child abuse, but analysis of his computer reveals that he has downloaded nearly 1,200 indecent images of children.
As you look through them, they are all of young girls aged between 3 years and early teenagers. There are a couple of photographs of younger children described as, babies between a year and 18 months old. We've got pictures here of a naked girl with what appears to be a studded collar around her neck, and she's been her vagina's been penetrated by an adult penis. And from her facial expression, there's signs of distress there. This is a video clip of a young girl having the vagina touched by an adult finger. Horrendous, really, because it's a child being abused by an adult. When you're working in this field, you often feel that these type of offenders never actually get cured. You often hear about the paedophile committing offences again and again and again. That appears to be the trait of a paedophile. They don't seem to get cured, and they just go on offending.
At court, the suspect pleads guilty to 14 counts of making indecent images of children. He is not given a custodial sentence, but a 3-year community rehabilitation order on condition that he attends a sex offenders program. He is placed on the sex offenders register for 5 years. Since Gerald Crompton was arrested at Heathrow, he has been on bail and has now demanded the return of his passport. There is little the police can do as Crompton is allowed to travel as long as he returns by his bail date.
Make sure it's yours. That's your passport, I think. And other stuff as well, which you get, because we're finished with that. What I'll do is I've probably got a Sainsbury's carrier bag going upstairs, so you can have to put all this stuff in, because there's quite a lot of bits.
Are you planning on travelling?
I don't know at the moment.
Before when you're back on bail August?
Yeah. Well, I've booked a holiday with me and my father, a coach trip to Russia.
Oh, right. When's that?
That's July.
Right.
He's 90 this year, so...
Must be a good shape for a 90-year-old if he can...
Yeah, well, he won't go on any cruises again. He's had enough.
Right, thanks for coming in. I'll speak to you again. Ta-ta.
The police have their suspicions that Crompton plans to leave the country and not return. They keep a close eye on him and receive intelligence that he has booked a flight to Thailand, and he has no intention of coming back. Crompton is no longer living at his former address and is found staying with a relative.
Hello, Mr. Crompton. How are you doing? How are you doing? Mr. Crompton, I've got a warrant for your arrest. Can you come with us to a police station? Mr. Crompton, can we have you out for a moment, please?
Right. Joel Crompton, can you just listen briefly to what the officer has to say, because from what he says, he's going to tell me the strength of the evidence against you, and I can make a decision as to whether there is sufficient evidence to be put in before a magistrate. So listen carefully, please.
Son, I ask this man to be taken before Romford's Magistrates Court tomorrow morning. Two reasons. First of all, he was arrested on a Section 1 warrant, which does not give the option of bail. And secondly, he was arrested on a matter of making indecent images of children, and we would ask that bail is refused in that instance as well, for the reason that we have good evidence, we believe, that this man intends to leave the country, having previously been bailed from this police station with a duty to return in August, and his intention is to leave on this Saturday the 19th, not to return to the UK.
And we have written statements and...
We have a statement as far as it can be obtained, yes.
Mr. Crompton, I'm satisfied that there is sufficient evidence against you to charge you with 13 offences. At any time, I must remind you that in answer to these charges you do not have to say anything. It may harm your defence if you do not mention now something you later rely upon in court. Do you understand that? Yes. Right. The first charge is on or before the 16th of January 2003 at Essex, you made an indecent photograph of a child. This is contrary to Section 1 and Section 6 of the Protection of Children Act 1978. Do you have to say anything about that, bearing in mind the caution I gave you? The second allegation is to a different photograph, but it is exactly the same wording. Is there anything you wish to say about that? Third one is to a different photograph, but it is exactly the same wording. Is there anything you wish to say about that? No. Fourth one, same wording, different photograph. No. Fifth one, same wording. You wish to say anything about that? No. Sixth one? No.
Could you turn to your right, please, Mr. Crompton?
When the police started investigating Gerald Crompton, they believed he was one of a group of associates travelling abroad to abuse children and obtain indecent material to sell on the internet.
And then turn to your left.
they do not have the evidence to prove that the group was involved in the commercial production of internet paedophilia. Today, the operation ends with just Crompton at court. He pleads guilty to 13 counts of possessing indecent images of children.
He got a total of 9 months imprisonment. He put on the sex offenders register for 10 years. He got what's called an extended license as well, which means that when he comes out of prison, he's got to behave himself for a further 3 years, otherwise he goes back in again. Yeah, and he was taken straight down to the cells to go to the local prison, which is Pentonville.
Happy?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously come a long way with Mr. Crompton. When the investigation started, we suspected he was involved in much more serious matters. But given that we ended up with possession, 9 months is about right, I think. Yeah, I mean it's a fair sentence. It's not a harsh sentence, but it's fair.
In the last 20 years, there has been a 15-fold increase in crimes involving images of child abuse. The success of the internet is generating a massive workload for the police investigating paedophilia.
The rock star Pete Townsend has been put on the National Sex Offenders Register for looking at child pornography on the internet. The former Who guitarist was arrested in January. He was given a formal caution today and told that no charges would be brought against him.
The police found no indecent images of children on Townsend's computers, but he was cautioned because he admitted paying to view the Landslide website.
In a statement, he said, "I accept that I was wrong to access this site and that by doing so I broke the law, and I have accepted the caution that the police have given me."
The internet has massively increased the availability of indecent images of children. Some psychologists who work with paedophiles argue that it is not only catering for an existing market, but is increasing the number of men who have a sexual interest in children. In other words, the internet is creating paedophiles.
If you've been affected by the issues on tonight's programme and would like to speak to an experienced advisor for details of organisations that can offer information and support, you can call the BBC Action Line on 08000 839 839. All calls are free and confidential and lines are open until midnight every day.